this interview with Ivona John Baptist Luge and the Chief Registrar of the Supreme Court ahead of the January 10th start of the new law year.
I'm Ivona John Baptist Luge, the Program Director at DBS Radio, and I welcome you to another interview with the Chief Registrar of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, ECSC, Michelle John Peebles. I said another because last year we had a similar discussion. The new law year begins on January 10. The traditional ceremonial opening is on, as is customary. And this short interview will provide information on the significance of the court, what is expected in the new law year, the challenges, the accomplishments, plans moving forward, and also why it is important for Caribbean citizens to embrace the ECSC. Good morning, Madam, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, Ms. Legay. Thank you so much for making the time to speak with me this morning. And we're still new into the year, so I'll take the opportunity to wish you and the listeners all the best for 2025.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that, and all the best to you as well. Let us get right into the meat of the matter. But what is the main function, though, of the Chief Registrar?
Registrar is the registrar who is assigned specifically to the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court's headquarters at the Court of Appeal level. The Chief Registrar is responsible for maintaining the day-to-day operations of the Court of Appeal registry and also somewhat overseeing the registrars, the High Court registrars of the various high courts in the 9 member states and territories that the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court serves. So in a nutshell, that's it.
Yes, that's it. That's it. And of course, you have a team with you. You have a team of people with you. So it's not just a one-man show. It's a lot of work to be done by other people.
That's right. So I have a deputy. Currently, my deputy is Mr. Nelia Chambers. And we have case managers in our registry. We also have judicial research assistants who also form part of our Court of Appeal registry.
Okay. Now, walk us through what is meant by a new law year. When we hear that term, what should immediately come to mind as far as the ECSC is concerned?
Well, the highlight of the court's calendar is the opening of the law year. I like to think of it sort of like the opening of Parliament, where you would have, well, for us in St. Lucia, what we would call the throne speech, where our Governor General would really lay out the plans that the government would really have for the coming year. So for us, we have that opening. We do it in January of every year. That was changed recently. We used to do it in September, but because of the hurricanes and the uncertainty that it brought, we've decided to change it and put it in January of each year. So the court's calendar is separated into 3 terms. The first term starts around January the 10th. And so to open up the entire year, to really lay out the plans, we have this ceremonial opening. We like to start things off with prayer. So we usually start off with a church service, and there'll be church services held in each of the 9 member states and territories. But the ceremonial sitting, it goes by rotation. So every year, the Court of Appeal will sit in a different island. This year, it's St. Lucia's turn. So we're right here at home where the court is hosted, the court's headquarters is hosted, to have the opening this year. And the Chief Justice, well, our acting Chief Justice, who's His Lordship, the Honorable Mr. Mario Michel, he will be delivering what we like to think of as our throne speech or our feature address for the opening of the law year. And the theme that we've chosen for this year's opening is accessibility and awareness, the ECSC bridging the gap through community engagement. So we will hear His Lordship speak on that theme Of course, he will also highlight what the court has done over the past year and what the citizens can look forward to in the year coming. But not only will his lordship be addressing us, but we'll also have addresses from each member state and territory. So each member state and territory will have one representative addressing. And we're all coming together to have one special sitting. You know, we are one court, but we have a geographical divide. We're separated by water. But for this opening, we come together, although not in one geographical space, but we're in one digital space, if you like to put it that way, where it will be aired via Zoom. Each speaker will be coming in from their country. The court will be sitting in St. Lucia, as I indicated, and everyone across the region will be tuned in to hear our opening.
Well, let me talk about Dominica, because
Yes.
really impressed over the years with the pomp and ceremony that the court in Dominica attaches to the opening.
Yes.
I'm sure in the other territories as well, but I can speak for Dominica. So
Sure.
after the church service, there's the procession to the Dame Eugenia Charles Boulevard, right next to the Magistrates Court building. I think a
Yes.
guard of honor is inspected by the resident judge, and then there's a special sitting at the courtroom. So you explain the significance of this, but I'm sure this is generally what is done in all the member territories. If
That
I'm
is
not
correct.
mistaken. Okay.
And it's been done for quite some time, because one of my fondest memories as a child, I may have mentioned that before last year, one of my fondest memories as a child is that my primary school was situated in the center of town. And I could remember the teachers gathering all of us onto the balcony for us to view. At the time, I didn't realize they were lawyers, but people who were dressed in black and white, they were marching through the town, and there was the police band playing, and we as children, we were all watching them. Afterwards, I realized that this was an actual opening of the lawyer that I was witnessing. So it's been done for quite some time. And you are correct. In each member state and territory, there'll be a church service. In the case of Dominica, I am told that the church service will be held from 8:15 to 9:15 at the Roseau Seventh-day Adventist Church on 6th Federation Drive in Roseau. And it's going to be presided over by Pastor Lester Joseph. And that will be followed, just as you said, by the procession of the judicial officers and the legal practitioners, who will be fully robed, as I just mentioned, as my memory from a child, accompanied by the police escort to the Dame Eugenia Charles Boulevard in Bayfront, Roseau, where the guard of honor will be inspected by the resident judge. So exciting times.
And that's good. Now, I know you mentioned the digital age, but I want to go back to this. How much has the digital age done for the opening and for the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court by extension?
It is to say what COVID did for the opening. So prior to COVID, we had 9 openings. So each island had their own church service as well as their own special sitting. But when COVID happened, our Chief Justice at the time, Dame Janice Pereira, she did not want us to miss out on such an important activity. So she came up with the idea of having one sitting where each island would be represented. We couldn't gather at the time because of the restrictions that COVID brought upon us. But what we decided in that first year was to pre-record it. So we had a pre-recorded opening that everyone stayed in the various remote locations and viewed. In the second year, we were still into COVID, but Zoom became more popular. So we then decided to do it via Zoom. And since then, we've been doing it via Zoom because we realized that the technology has afforded us the opportunity to all come together, despite our geographical separations or limitations, to come together, to join in as citizens of the Eastern Caribbean to really witness what is our court. The Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court is not my court. It's not the Chief Justice's court. It's the court for the people of the Eastern Caribbean. And that is why we really want to admonish persons to please, encourage them to please join in. Come and hear what the court has been doing for you. The theme this year is really speaking about bridging the gap through community engagement, because we realize that we need to really bring the community into the court, the workings of the court. You know, sometimes people may think that they may never have to go to court, but it doesn't mean that you don't need to know about your court. Yeah, doesn't mean that you don't need to be aware that the court is working for you and what the court is doing to work for you. So this is part of what the opening is about, and this is really why we've maintained, even though we've gone past COVID, we have still tried to maintain this one sitting to sort of bring us together, as we really are.
So you're saying essentially that Caribbean people should embrace this, take ownership of this.
That is exactly correct, because it's yours. It's yours. And if something is yours, you will want to nurture it. You want to know everything about it. It's yours.
Just mention the theme again, Madam Chief Registrar.
Accessibility and awareness. The ECSC bridging the gap through community engagement. And this is really what we're talking about. People should know how they can access the court. Yeah. And by extension, what the court is doing to allow you to be able to access it. And awareness is also very important. What is this Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court about? What does it mean for me? Why is it important to me as a person, as just a little person on the street? Why is it important to me? Why is it important to me as a business owner? Why is it important to me as a mother, a father, a child? What's the importance? Yeah. And the ECSC is now trying to bridge this gap, because we realize that there's a disconnect. Not enough people know about the court, what the court is about. That there is a Chief Justice who heads the court, and there are judges who preside over matters. There are magistrates, there are different tiers to the court. So many different things people don't know. So we're inviting persons to really come to hear the activities. I don't want to give them away now, but what the court is doing and what the court has planned for the future.
Now, it would be remiss of me not to ask about the challenges that the court would have faced, at least last year. What comes to mind when you hear that question, asking you about the challenges faced by the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court?
Yes, you know, one of the main...
After COVID, obviously, we will have a few challenges.
Yes. One of the main challenges I think that we face is resources, whether they be human resources or financial resources. You have throughout the islands the echo that we are short-staffed, we are under-resourced, persons are working harder because we have less persons to do the job. But we have court staff who work so hard nonetheless, Ms. Suge, to ensure that the wheels of justice keep turning, despite our limitations with resources, despite our limitations with finances. The court is funded by the 9 member states and territories of the OCS. And sometimes finances are a big issue. So we really have to make do with what we have. So the court, one of the main challenges is really to find a way to keep the wheels of justice turning, because we cannot afford to have justice come to a halt. Even when COVID had all of us quarantined, justice could not have been quarantined. It had to keep moving. So every day we have this challenge, because we owe it to the people of the Eastern Caribbean, and to our stakeholders, all the people that we serve, to ensure that the administration of justice is done in an efficient, a timely, and effective manner, which is the court's mission. Yeah.
I remember a few years ago, the focus was on achieving court excellence. How much have we achieved? And I'm saying we because I too am taking ownership. How much have we achieved, even amidst the challenges?
You know, when I look at our court and I compare it to some of the other courts in the region, we are really up there. And I can tell you, I've spoken to other people and they ask about our processes, ask about our procedures, because they are thinking of implementing it in theirs. They've seen how it's working for us. And one case in point is our electronic litigation portal, which I'm sure you know about.
Oh, yes.
You know,
oh, yes.
I think you were at the launch when we were in Dominica.
Yes.
Right. Yes. And that portal has taken us leaps and bounds above so many others, because when COVID came again and we could not have the physical files, we could not pick up files and physically give them to our judges, we could not physically sit in the courtrooms. The cases that were online and were already electronic, judges were able to just continue. The Court of Appeal never missed a sitting because we developed, we had the portal live already for our Court of Appeal matters, but we also developed an electronic system where right now we're almost paperless. Everything is sent electronically. Our judges have a link, or if they so choose, they can go directly onto the portal to get all the matters that is needed. This really has taken us to a point where, wow, we can actually say that our court has moved ahead. Technology is always evolving. And if we don't jump on that bandwagon, we get left behind. So that's just one of the areas that I can highlight.
And this has surely modernized court services in Dominica.
Certainly.
And that was the intention.
That was the intention. That's the intention. So you can go paperless, you can file online at any time. You top up, there's no need to buy stamps anymore, no need to present your clerks to the court office, the registry, to pay for your filings. You can just do it right there online.
Madam Chief Registrar, as we sort of come towards the end of this interview, what is your advice to the legal fraternity in Dominica and the rest of the Eastern Caribbean? Obviously, we spoke about this e-litigation portal, modernizing digital space, so to speak, and all of that. The fact that we have to, as citizens, embrace the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. But there are challenges facing the judiciary, and also should there be sort of increased action to improve public confidence in the court system?
Well, you know, you could never have too much. You could never have too much positivity surrounding an entity, an organization, far less one like ours. So you asked what would be my advice? My advice to the bar, especially, would be to just keep helping us to help you. Nothing is perfect. No situation is perfect. At the court's headquarters, we sit away from the Commonwealth of Dominica and the other islands. We may not know everything that's going on the ground. We may not know the difficulties and the challenges that you face. But I can promise you that if these are brought to our attention, we will not turn a blind eye on them. We will do our best to help others to ensure that public trust and confidence is maintained, because this is what we are there for. And the bar associations are supposed to help the court. Where the court cannot speak, the bar should be their voice. And where the bar needs help, and they in turn cannot speak, then the court should step in to be able. So it's a partnership. it's a marriage, you know, if you want to think of it like that. So we have to all work together. And who are we all working for? The citizens of not just the Commonwealth of Dominica, but the entire Eastern Caribbean. So I would say, don't give up on your court. Help us to help you. We're certainly not giving up on you. So we want you not to give up on us. Dominica has a very active bar, one of the most, if not the most active in the Eastern Caribbean. And I have to publicly commend them for it. When I remember we had a meeting and when they highlighted the number of activities that I was just blown away, simply elated. So I want to encourage the bar to just keep doing what you're doing. Find new ways to be innovative. Find new ways to ensure that public trust and confidence is maintained. It's not worn out because it's hard to build trust, but it's easy to break it.
Oh, yes,
so,
it is.
So we just wanted to let you know, we stand here with you. As a court, we stand here with you. And we just ask you to stand with us. Let's continue to work together.
As you mentioned about the innovative ideas undertaken by the Dominica Bar Association, I can also say that the Dominica Bar Association is a bi-weekly program on radio. It comes up every Monday. In fact, it should be on tonight. And the reviews are encouraging.
Oh,
but
wonderful.
As well, the ministry, which has responsibility for legal affairs in Dominica, also has a bi-weekly program on radio. So this tells a lot about what the legal fraternity is doing in Dominica to provide information to the citizens, information on legal matters. And these programs not only provide information to the public, but they also have bridged, the justice gap. So I just had to bring this in as well.
That is so commendable. So very commendable.
So as we end, just tell us the theme again and how excited we are about getting the new lawyers started on the 10th.
Yeah, so we at the court's headquarters are very excited. We're busy at work this week. It's a very busy week coming back into the new year, but we are looking forward to our opening of the Law Year 2025. And it's under the theme, Accessibility and Awareness, the ECSC Bridging the Gap through Community Engagement. So the public is invited to join with the legal fraternity. It's not just for us, it's for everyone. We invite you first to the church service that will be held at the Roseau Seventh-day Adventist Church. And it's on Friday, the 10th of January from 8:15 a.m. That will be followed by a procession to the Dame Eugenia Charles Boulevard. And then the special sit-in to mark the opening is on at 10 a.m. If you can't catch it live, it will be streamed live via the court's website, www.eccourts.org. Also, some of the local GIS stations are supposed to be carrying it as well. So we invite everyone to come be a part of the opening of the law year.
Madam Chief Registrar of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, Michelle John Theobald, let me thank you for taking time off your busy schedule to speak with us and give us information about the new law year. And all the best for the new year. In the new year, of course, we are here already.
If I could just add, one thing before I go. So as part of our media promo, we actually have a 3-episode talk show, and it's called Meet the Speakers. This is the second year that we're doing it.
A talk show?
And it's going, it's going to be aired live on the 7th, 8th, and 9th of January because we have about 11 speakers. So we're going to break them up. And at 3 p.m., it's also going to be streamed live via the court's website, where we want to introduce you to the speakers who will be addressing us for the opening of the law year. Remember, I said that we have one from each island? Yes. And the speaker for the Commonwealth of Dominica is Her Honor Magistrate Candia Carrot George. She's going to be Dominica's speaker this year. And we invite everyone to tune in tomorrow, the 7th, Wednesday, the 8th, and Thursday, the 9th of January at 3 p.m. come hear us chat with the speakers. Let them tell you their take on the theme, on the court, the initiatives of the court, maybe even about themselves a bit, you know? So just to get to know them more. It's called Meet the Speakers. So I hope you can tune in as well.
Sure. I'll tune in and learn more, obviously, about this. But I just like the idea that the court sees how important it is for us to bridge that gap. Let's get closer together.
Yes.
As citizens, let us learn about the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court to serve us well.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, and I wish you all the best. Have a pleasant day.
All the best to you as well.
Thank you.
DBS Radio gives you top quality service over any other for live streaming of funerals. Call us today at 448-3282.
Good evening, welcome to the evening edition of the DBS Radio Community Bulletin Board. It is the 7th day of January 2025. Welcome to the evening edition of the DBS Radio Death Announcements on the Community Bulletin Board. We announce the death of Ashworth Marcel Daniel, better known as Paylaw, age 76, of Salibia. He was a former resident of the Dominica Infirmary. He died on Tuesday, the 31st of December. He was the father of Janita, Gary, and Wayne Daniel amongst his 5 children. He will also be remembered by his 2 sisters, Eugene Daniel Roberts and Eugenia Daniel. His 3 brothers, Julius and Bernard Daniel and Davidson White. 8 grandchildren, nieces and nephews, names too numerous to mention, and other relatives and friends, including the management and staff of the Dominica Infirmary. The funeral arrangements for the late Ashworth Marcel Daniel, better known as Paylaw, of Salibia, will be given in a subsequent announcement. We announce the death of Mrs. Bertil George Nate Thomas, better known as Ma Harold, of Newtown, who resided at her daughter's residence in Bellevue Chopin. She died on Thursday, the 2nd of January, at the Dominica China Friendship Hospital. The funeral arrangements for the late Mrs. Bertil George Nate Thomas, better known as Ma Harold, of Newtown, who resided at her daughter's residence in Bellevue Chopin, will be given in a subsequent announcement. We announce the death of Georgina Gregoire George, better known as Gorgie Boops, and Gorgie, age 56, of Goodwill. She died on Wednesday, the 25th of December. She was the wife of Jackson George. She was the mother of Jasma, Shanice, Ethan, and Jathan George. She will also be remembered by one adopted child, Nelia George, 4 adopted grandchildren, Kaylee L, NJ George, and Adela Bellot, 4 stepchildren, Jefferson, Junelle, Tamika, and Latoya George, 4 brothers, James, Matthew, Albert, and Jason Gregoire, 1 sister, Bernice James in Antigua, 3 uncles, Regis and Clarence Seraphin in Good Hope, and Joseph Xavier in New York. 1 aunt, Anita Daru, 1 grand aunt, Noreen Faustin, 10 nieces, Chanel, Britanna, Ariel and Gabriella Gregoire, Shanika Bethel, Norma Francis in Montserrat, Wilcia, Olivia Ash, Bernell, and Donick James in Antigua. 5 nephews, Shama, John Jr., Breoff, Samuel, and Jaden Gregoire. Numerous nieces and nephews, including in-laws. Well, let me take that again. Numerous nieces and nephews in-law, including Linnell, Che, Dean, Cindy, Denise, Shayema, Eleni, and Terry. Godchildren, Gabrielle, Megan, Kadisha, Sabriel, and Dwight. Sisters-in-law, Sandra and Paula Gregoire, Lynn, Rosma, Joan, Elfa, Ailey, Mariana, and Exodie George, and also Ketura Thomas and Rochelle Matthew. Brothers-in-law, Morris and John George. Numerous cousins, including Connie, Glenda, Roderick, Randy, Nilian, Shakim, Sharice, Saskia, Donique, Dijon, Greg, Tim, Melinda, Beverly, Talifa, Donnie, Tony, Debbie, Albert, Sheke, Sandra, Delia, Kathleen, and Hubert. Special mention, Sharon Pascal, Virginia and Eric Menz, Juliet, Ayana, Elena, Kendall, Ron, Maslin, Tracy, and Tara. Close friends including Nikki, Cleve, Josephine, Janice, Naomi, Marel, Rhoda, Josette, Latanya Henderson, Noreen, Claudia, Rosemary, Solon, Virginia, Noelina, Shirley, Reginald, Curel, Edmund, Thora, Joycelyn, Vincia, Tanisha, Todd and family in Tortola, Danelle and Kiana, and other relatives and friends including the Gregoire family in Grand Bay, Soufriere and Point Michel, the George family in Grand Fond, the Seraphin and Daru families in Good Hope, Honorable Greta Roberts, Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt, Honorable Miriam Blanchard, Danny Luge, staff of the Country Style Bakery in Canefield, the Bozell, David and Allen families in Jolly Lane, Michael Peter and family, Dr. Yorandi, doctors and nurses and staff of the Glover Ward, the community of Jolly's Lane, Goodwill, Good Hope, and Grand Fond, and other names too numerous to mention. The body of the late Georgina Gregoire George, better known as Gorgie Boops and Gorgie of Goodwill, can be viewed from 1:30 p.m. on Friday, the 10th of January at the St. Alphonsus Catholic Church. The funeral mass will take place at 2 p.m. and will be followed by interment at the Roseau Public Cemetery. The management and staff of your nation station, DBS Radio, extends deepest condolences to the families of the late Ashworth Marcel Daniel of Salibier. We also extend deepest condolences to the family of the late Mrs. Bertil George Ney Thomas of Newton, who resided at Bellevue Chopin. And finally, the nation station DBS Radio extends deepest condolences to the family of the late Georgina Gregoire George of Goodwill.
And now, your community bulletin board.
Let's now present to you the general announcements on this evening's edition of the DBS Radio Community Bulletin Board. We begin with this announcement from DOWASCO. DOWASCO apologizes to customers of Bataka for the unscheduled interruption in their water supply throughout the past week. Be informed that investigations are ongoing and works are underway to restore optimal operations of the network in the quickest possible time. DOWASCO regrets this inconvenience and thanks customers for their understanding. The public is informed of a road closure for blasting operations at the quarry site in Crapo Hall, Marigot, on Wednesday, the 8th of January 2025 between 3:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Please be guided accordingly. Members of the Marigot Cooperative Credit Union and the general public are informed that all offices of the Marigot Cooperative Credit Union Limited will remain open on Wednesday, the 8th of January 2025 from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. All offices are expected to be closed at 12 noon on Tuesday, the 14th of January to facilitate a staff meeting. Normal operations will resume on Wednesday, the 15th of January. Management and staff apologize for any inconvenience caused as a result. MCCU, a beacon of hope, serving the Northeast. We've come to the end of the general announcements. We have some What's On coming up next. Stay tuned.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mikel Henderson inviting you to Emerald Elegance, an evening of exquisite entertainment aboard the MV Freewings under the distinguished patronage of Their Excellencies Silvani Burton, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and Mr. Burton. On January 8th, 2025, the Freewings Band and I will present a benefit concert in aid of the Dominica Infirmary and premium home and residential care services. Tickets are $75 each and can be purchased at Deepex Color Lab on Cork Street in Roseau. Do join us on January 8th aboard the MV Freewings for an unforgettable night of music. You don't want to miss it.
Do you remember when Pan was king? Well, the Ministry of Culture, Youth, Sports and Community Development and the Cultural Division presents Pan in the City Street Jump Up in memory of the late Wilfred Poncho John Baptist, Edward Andre and Alan John Baptist on Friday, January 24th, 2024 at 6 p.m. on the Bayfront. There'll be guest performances by Pan in Harmony, Pussy Culture, and guess what? Kwan, Little Boy, Shally will be there, backed up by Stilpen. It's Pan in the City Street Jump Up. Let's relive the memories of the good old Pan music.
We've come to the end of this evening's edition of the DBS Radio Community Bulletin Board. The death announcements, general announcements, and what's on. Tune in tomorrow morning from 6:10 a.m. for the first part of the Community Bulletin Board, which is the death announcements. Of course, Mondays through Fridays. The Community Bulletin Board is split into two. The death announcements at 6:10 and the general announcements at 7:40 with the What's On. Don't forget to hear your announcements on DBS Radio, the nation station, coming to the sales and marketing team's office Mondays through Fridays between the hours of 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Also, you can give us a call, 448-3282 or 448-3283, same times and as mentioned, except holidays.
blunder, political blunder. What did you consider in your brain? What does Dominica have to gain? Where in the world you ever hear a black nation ever prosper from any foreign mind invention? Maybe you need to review Caribbean geography, and I'm sure you'll agree with me. We see no mining by foreign companies.
We don't mind, we don't mind.
We prefer if we live in poverty.
We don't mind, we don't mind, we don't mind.
It could be for silver.
Leave it, we don't mind it.
It could be for gold.
Leave it, we don't mind it.
It could be for copper.
Leave it, we don't mind it.
It could be for oil. If those spoil livers fall, it's not a crime. But we don't mind. In Guyana, they mine gold and silver, oil in Trinidad, and bauxite in Jamaica. But people still for there. With all their mining development, they're still running to Dominica for employment. So use your good judgment. Natural beauty is our attraction. Tourism is our development plan. If all them big giant countries don't prosper from mining industries, what kind of scope is there for we? If a barrel full of gold is not enough, how much gold do you expect from a cup? We say no mining on public property.
We don't mind, we don't mind.
We prefer if we live in poverty.
We don't mind, we don't mind, we don't mind.
It could be for silver.
Leave it, we don't mind it.
It could be for gold.
Leave it, we don't mind it.
It could be for copper.
Leave it, we don't mind it.
It could be for oil. If those spoil livers fall, it's not a crime. But we don't mind. We know times are hard and things are bad. We want progress, of course, but at a minimum cost. Leave our lands untouched. So when come to mining, progress can wait. Don't get desperate and repeat Eugenia's mistakes. Cause too much at stake. Mountains and rivers will disappear. These mining businessmen, they don't live here. We've got to preserve our country. Don't make Lucy make you jumpy. Don't worry with Mr. Abolodon.